Welcome to the Autosportradio.com 2020 show. I'm your host, Don K. We are again at the Grand King Race Shops located 8155 Crawfordsville Road in in Indianapolis, actually. A working museum. If you ever get a chance, you need to stop by when they open the place up again. Today's program is presented, as always, by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the NTT INDYCAR Series, SVRA, and McGilvery's Pub and Eatery in Speedway. If you've ever wanted to take a ride and figure, what do these people like about driving, guys and gals like about driving an IndyCar? You can find out by taking a ride in the two-seater program, which is just a fabulous ride. You'll love it. You can go to IndyRacingExperience.com and sign up for whenever they're running and wherever they're running. And in the promo box, put DK1, you get a 50% discount. Or you can call the office at 317-243-717-RUN. If you need a dentist and you go, oh, geez, well, I got a solution for you. The Indy Dental Group, they are phenomenal. Dr. Jack Miller, Indy 500 veteran, and his wife, Dr. Liz Lewis, have a phenomenal practice. Give them a call, make an appointment. Number's 317-866-6125. And if you have computer problems, we have a new computer company, A+ Affordable Computer Doctor. Steve Freeze is the doctor, and if need be to fix your computer, he can come to your house and make a house call. Give him a call, tell him your problem, see what he can do to help you. Number's 317-328-0766. And if you ever wondered what it's like to drive your favorite car on your favorite track, from dirt track midgets at the Chili Bowl to Formula One cars at Nürburgring Ring, Indy Simulation can put you in the driver's seat of their SimX Experience full motion race simulator. Take your choice of 160 cars and tracks in iRacing, the same simulation professional drivers use to race their real world rivals, learn new tracks, and stay sharp between races. Visit IndySim.com to book your free ride and demonstration and see how you like it. Give it a try, you'll love it. And don't forget, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum now has the Andy Granatelli exhibit in there. If you get a chance to get by, you got to stop and see it, because Andy was way ahead of his time, and he's probably in every Hall of Fame there is possible to be in. It's time for insurance for your home, your car, or commercial property. Do what most of us have done and go to VP Insurance. Talk to Mike Pardee. They're located at 5004 West 16th Street in Speedway. Give him a call. Tell him what you got, what you need. He'll help you. Better coverage for less money. 317-248-0070. And are you a former fan of Trans Am Racing? Well, it's back and getting bigger again. You can go to svra.com and subscribe to Speed Tour Magazine. Get all the scoop on what's going on today with not only vintage racing, but the Trans Am. They got great pictures, great stories. It's a first-class publication. You need to subscribe to it. Just go to svra.com and subscribe to the Speed Tour. And while you're there, check out their schedule. See where they're going to be next. And if it's anywhere within driving distance, I highly recommend you go and visit it. Are you into vintage cars, or you have one, or you'd like one? The Grand King Race Shops can help you out in both. If you've got a car and you need it restored, or you're looking for one and they happen to have one here, come and check it out. Give them a call. Number is 317-820-3595. Now, my guest today is a gentleman who in 1992, Chip Ganassi was smart enough to bring on board. He's been there about 28 years. During his time there, they got four 500 victories, 11 championships, 113 wins, and he's been with Scott Dixon in all 50 of his wins. They've had phenomenal success, and Mike has been with them all the way. Please welcome Mr. Mike Hull. Mike, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, Don. Thank you.
How did you get into motorsports to begin with? I know you're from California. Did you start out wanting to drive?
Yes, I did. That's the short answer. And the short answer is I did. When I was young, I started racing in California. And California is a lot like Indiana or North Carolina. In those days, it was. There was an awful lot of motor racing that was based there and was going on there. So, yeah, I fell into racing when I was young and just stayed with it.
When did you decide it was time to get out of the cockpit and get into the mechanical part of it, management part?
Yeah, that's a good question. I pretty much stopped when I was 28 years old. started working on somebody's race car, and the amount of money he offered me to work on his car at the time, I thought was pretty good. It was pretty nice. He was a terrific race driver, and it was a Formula Ford, so it wasn't a big car, but it was in club racing, and the guy won 16 out of 18 races that year. And but it was because he had a lot of ability, and I understood clearly what a driver needs. That's what he didn't have before, working on his race car. And then I discovered that I wanted to work on race cars at the highest level. So I worked through the ladder system as somebody that looked after race cars. And in those days, you did everything. Today I would have been called an engineer, but I wasn't. So I looked after the car, drove the truck everywhere, had a semblance of people working for me. The driver traveled with us a lot, did all of those things that it took to go racing. So great educational process, really. And it's gotten to be where I am today.
How important in your mind is it, and how good is it to have somebody working and working with the driver and setting the car up that's driven, that you understand what the driver needs, what he's talking about?
I think there's a couple of things. One is, first of all, if you can work for an owner that's driven race cars, that's a big help. Secondly, I think you instinctively understand how to create the elements that define the confidence the driver wants to have when he or she drives a race car. That's really a big difference maker. You can't go to school for that. You can't get a degree in that. I think you have to experience that firsthand. It's not that you can't do it another way, but I think that creates a difference. And we have a lot of people that work here at Chip Ganassi Racing that have driven race cars, some successfully, some not. Yeah. But what's in common is they understand what the driver needs. And I think for the most part, most of the people that we've had that have been successful here in different vocational locations in our building have done that. And they've contributed in a way that they can't learn in school. So it's a school of hard knocks, really, that gets you to where that's the degree that you earn. And I think it makes a difference.
I've noticed over the years that some of the best coaches, or owners in your case as well, have been either players, say football or baseball or something, that weren't the big name. They were the guys that had to work hard just to be able to stay in the car or stay in the lineup or make the team. And when they get into the upper, they understand what it takes and how hard it is to learn. And I think that makes like your job much easier because you understand as well.
I think what you have in parallel is passion and drive, and you understand what's required to get there. But it's still about the matchup. Motor racing is about the matchup of people, and it's about the matchup at that point in time, at that very moment in time for racing. And we don't always get it right. None of us do. But the foundation really, or the background is where you come from together, and then putting it all together once you mix all those people in the mixer. Yeah.
It's interesting the success that Chip Ganassi Racing has had, not only in INDYCARs, obviously, with like 115 wins or somewhere in that way in INDYCAR. They've won at Le Mans, they've won in NASCAR. I mean, they've won at everything. And when you it seems like, and you oversee everything, as my understanding. You oversee the whole, whatever Ganassi's got going, you're involved in one way or another.
But I think that we share, by being together, we share everything together. And we understand how to contribute with our own strengths and weaknesses. And having Chip as an owner, we continue to grow together. And Chip provides a lot of opportunity for all of us, and he understands really he sees in us what we don't see in ourselves, both individually and respectively as a group. And I know other business organizations, other sporting organizations have similar people in similar positions. I think we're lucky that we have him pushing us pretty hard with our collective direction.
Well, it's rumored that the one thing that Chip loves more than anything else is a win. And I'm guessing from that, and looking to have that success, that when you need something, he's pretty much goes along with what you say. Here's what we need to get better, and he'll say, "Okay, get it."
I think, well, that's a good short-term description. Absolutely. None of us are satisfied. Here's the deal. If you're lucky enough to win, or if you're lucky enough to finish second or third or fourth or fifth on a given day at a racetrack, and you know that everything aligned for you to be able to do that's terrific. But if you have everything that it takes to win and you don't, what you do is you recenter yourself immediately and you go forward as a group of people. And so there's two kinds of people that are entered into motor races. I'm glad that we have the kind of operation that allows us to have the opportunity to win. And I've always looked at it like, wow, we didn't get it done today. I hope we get another opportunity. And we push ourselves pretty hard for that.
It seemed to me, I saw the 2016 Le Mans where you finished first and third. And I think Mr. Ford was there that day that you did that. And I know when the pictures I saw him, he was really excited that Ford had in fact won their class at Le Mans, which is the biggest, the equivalent to the 500 in sports car racing.
Well, there were probably, I don't know how many people whose last name was Ford that were there in 2016. There were several. I talked to Edsel about it, not there, but at some point prior to that race. And I had seen a black and white photo of Edsel with his dad at Le Mans. I thought it was a really neat picture. I saw all kinds of other pictures of black and white photos of when they'd won 50 years prior and all the rest of that. But I thought the one that I saw that was the best was Edsel with his father, Henry II, the Deuce. And I said to Edsel, I said, I think it would be really special if we could do for you what your dad did for you with your son, Henry III. And he said, he got very emotional about that. And he said, yes. He said, that day in my life was really, really special. And, he was a teenager. His birthday and my birthday are 2 days apart in the same year. And so we were both kids. He was lucky enough to be at Le Mans. I remember reading about it in the LA Times the day after they won there. And in the 60s, the first time. It meant a lot to Edsel. It meant a lot to William Clay Ford. It meant a lot to all of those Ford family members that were at the racetrack. They were certainly in shock that we won. But it's great to be able to shock people like that with the fact that you can win when you work together.
You have been with Scott for all of his 50 wins.
49 of them, not 50.
Oh, really?
His first race was at the first race he won was at Pac West. So okay. Been lucky enough for 49 of them. We'll try to get to 50 with him.
What's special about him? What is it that he brings to the cockpit that a lot of other drivers, not all, but a lot of other drivers don't bring?
Continuing education. He never complains about learning how to win in a different way, how to drive himself first, how to drive the team members to be better every day. He's a great leader by example. In the time that he's been with us in an IndyCar, he's continued to grow as a race driver. He's never stopped. He doesn't cruise and collect because of all the experience he has. He works hard to make himself better. And he's very giving to his teammates. And by doing that, he gets a lot in return. And that includes both the ones that drive the cars as his teammates, as well as those that work on or around the race cars that he drives. He understands racecraft extremely well. He understands what it takes, besides the fact that you have to do X amount of laps between pit stops. He understands how to get your car to be in a better race car prior to the next stop, and how to be track position wise, how to be ahead of the competitors you're racing against in a 2, 3, or 4, or 5, 6 stop race. He gets all of that extremely well, and he's a pleasure to work with. He's a hard guy to work with because he's very demanding, frankly. But I think that's the kind of race driver you want. You always want a race driver who's never satisfied, is hungry for something more. And it's been an amazing ride with him, one that I never really thought would happen. And I grew up watching Mario and certainly AJ and how they won and what they won and all that. And I never thought in my lifetime, first of all, that I would see it again in IndyCar racing, let alone be up close and personal with it. And as time has gone on in IndyCar racing, Don, it's become such a so-called spec series that what he's done is really extraordinary. In the days of grippy tires and big horsepower and separation, it was, I hate to say this, but I think it was a lot easier to do what Mario and AJ did than what Scott Dixon has done. Not that other guys couldn't do it in that era, in that age, but they did it. So they were very special by doing it, let's face it. But so is Dixon. Maybe not in your or my lifetime, looking back on it, but in the people behind us, when they look back on it, they're gonna see that.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think it's amazing. And PT and T Bell talk about it, how he's able to manage his fuel, but yet he's got somebody behind him want to pass, but they don't. Not that he does anything illegal, but he's able to manage his tires better than most. He's able to manage his fuel better than most, and he doesn't lose ground doing it. That's the part I find kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, if you divide a segment, each segment of a run, full tank run, let's say you just divide that segment into 4 equal parts. The last part is the most important part. And by saying that, you have to keep your tires underneath you to be ready for that part to gain the track position that gets you further ahead. And if you had a global view or a global view of the perspective of the racetrack for that last 25% of your run, you would clearly see that. The TV broadcasters, Townsend and Paul, they understand that because they've driven race cars. They understand that global perspective. It's hard to describe that to a race fan for them to truly understand that. When we raced at Mid-Ohio unsuccessfully with him a couple of weeks ago, by comparison to what we've done in the past at Mid-Ohio, I thought he did an extraordinary job of racing without fuel and keeping his tires underneath him, which is something that he didn't get any credit for. I read through all the journalist stuff. I looked at the TV interviews. You know, all these people that rubbish him continually for saving fuel, winning by saving fuel. He didn't save a drop of fuel at Mid-Ohio on either Saturday or Sunday, and he made chicken salad out of what people call the other thing on Saturday and Sunday at Mid-Ohio. So without saving a drop of fuel, so he can do it both ways.
Well, I thought it was amazing. He did something which he admitted was completely his fault. Spun out on Sunday, I believe it was, and still started last and still finished 10th and saved himself some points.
Yeah,
and
but you know what? He doesn't get down on himself, and we don't get down on the situation either. We work really hard at the next moment of time. When the spin is done,
yeah.
we work hard to figure out what are we going to do to get the most out of today. And that's what he does as a race driver.
What's it like? What information do you feed him that he doesn't get in the car that he needs to know to accomplish what he's done? You're a strategist. What is it you give him that he needs?
We try to give him a visual of how we're going to make up that track position we have to make up. And he does the rest. An example of what happened at Mid-Ohio on Sunday when he did spin was that we told him on the radio how much ground he had to make up before we were going to stop. And he made that up. As soon as we got to the tail end of the back of the field, we had made up, 15 seconds of time.
Yeah.
You know, if you multiply that out times, in this case, a 75 lap race, 15 seconds is significant because everybody has to stop. Then what we did was we immediately stopped. We put red tires on the car and told him he was going to have to make up ground again, which he did again. When he spun initially, we were 40 seconds behind the leader. 40 seconds. That's almost a lap at Mid-Ohio.
Right.
And, but he made up the initial part. He made up another 15, 16, 17 seconds with the next run. So we had made up over 30 seconds of time with those two stops. And we were lucky with the blend in and blend out with most everybody else as they began to stop. And he made the most out of it. We got to 10th place at the end of the race. So it wasn't a perfect day in terms of points, in terms of finishing position, but it was a pretty good day in terms of him being in the process and us in the pit lane being in the process.
You know, it seems to me, and fans, and I get this all the time, emails from fans that say, boy, on any given day, there's at least 8 cars, if not 10, that can potentially win a race. So to have done what he's done, which he generally does at the end of the season, he came out of the box flying, red hot, won the first 4 in a row. You know, the competition in this series, I think, is second to none, without any question. I don't think there's a series in the world that has the capability of 8 or 10 cars at any given day, and occasionally they do win the race.
Yeah, that is correct. And certainly on paper, it looks that way. And even when you visually watch the broadcast, it appears that way. But then when you take those 8 or 10 people, and you sense the separation they can create at the end of the race, that's what we always see. And it might be different people each time. You know, there are some of the same, but certainly some different people there. But separators in any form of motorsports separate themselves from what clearly appears to be the talent pool. And it's fun to watch that separation develop.
Is Ganassi going to get back into sports cars next year? I know they took this year
Well,
off.
yeah, I mean, that's not really a loaded question. I would try to give you a quality answer though. We've tried really, really hard to find a manufacturer that we'd be clearly able to partner, to be partners with. We're working on it. we are in not negotiation. We're in discussion with a manufacturer for the future now. With the delay in the rules package, which was just formally announced this last week, which is, in our opinion, a year late in being announced. Yeah. And there's a lot of extenuating circumstances for that. It's not that they weren't trying to do it. I don't think you're going to see teams like Chip Ganassi Racing, or in this case, Penske, who's backing away from the Acura program, be in the series until we can run a LMDH car with the new rule package with the hybrid element involved with it, probably until 2023.
How excited are you every day to get up and go to work? I know you play golf a bit and you go to the gym and so forth, but I got to think, having known you and watched you over the years, that you're excited to go to work every day.
I think, Don, if you're not excited about working, no matter what you've chosen to do, they'll use your shoulder blades for traction. And this sport is the same. You have to be involved on a daily basis as a participant, because things quickly change, and you have to understand. You have to get a read every day about what's going on in let's say, in our case, in our building. Yeah, I'm excited about coming to work because I know what it means to be part of the process. One person doesn't make a difference, but everybody participating together, that's what makes the difference. There's give and take there, but yeah, I'm excited about the things I do. I don't play much golf these days. I would like to, but I enjoy working at Chip Ganassi Racing. Really, that's what drives me. We'll keep doing it until it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, but I think the teams, you have to look at the teams and how they perform, and it's those like yourself, the leader that leads the way and is not afraid to do what needs to be done to win and help them accomplish their goal as well.
But you know what? I think what happens in racing is people like myself, we understand how important that 100% participation is. And mailing it in doesn't work. And it does a disservice to the people that you work with. And in my opinion, consultancy doesn't work in motor racing either.
Right.
You're better off to give it 100% until you can't give 100% anymore.
You're right. And Nashville just joined the series. And I talked to Jay Fry last week, and I said, are you looking to expand the series, add a couple races? And he said, not unless it makes sense to both of us, both the promoter and the series. And of course, they announced several days later Nashville. And I looked at the racetrack, the picture of it, I'm thinking to myself, well, they got to have a paddock at one end or the other. And if you have a problem at the wrong end, how in the world do you get back to the pit or the paddock area without going over the bridge or a helicopter?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer for the question. I did look at the layout, and that wasn't one of the first things that I thought about, frankly. What I thought about really was the fact that it enhances or contributes to the visual of Nashville, the downtown element of Nashville. It's a significant waterway you're going over there on a bridge that captures the eye of the person watching the race on television. And for the people that live in Nashville, I think they should be excited about the fact that their city's being promoted in a positive manner. In terms of your car braking and getting it back to the paddock, let's face it, if your car falls out of the race or falls out of practice because of it, you're just going to have to deal with it. But I like the fact that we're racing there. And I think it's a great place to be racing. There's a lot of energy in that city, and energy represents IndyCar racing extremely well. The two go hand in hand, and so do we as race teams. So I think it's a great marriage, and I like the fact that IndyCar waited until the timing was right to have a multi-year commitment from a promoter. And that's what makes the difference today with IndyCar racing.
Yeah, and for myself, I used to love to go down when they raced on the oval. I was sorry to see that go away, because I used to like to go downtown after the track closed and go to Tootsie's for one place.
Yeah, sure.
Always had a good time in the town. Like you said, is bustling for sure. It's a great spot where people go for vacations and so forth. So that's kind of fun. Do you have a preference between ovals and street and road courses?
I grew up around both, frankly. I didn't grow up solely as a road racer or solely as an oval racer. So I've never really had, with the exception of the Indy 500, I've never really had an inclination to say one is better than the other. My allegiance certainly is with the Indy 500 in terms of an oval race, and past that, let's face it, they're all introductions or appetizers for what we do. Yeah. And there's some that have great lineage, great history for IndyCar racing, and they're building blocks for the series. Others are becoming that way. If you win the Long Beach Grand Prix, it means a lot because of the history, let's face it. Oh, yeah. If you win at Toronto, that means a lot in terms of the history that it represents. Certainly when you win, if you're lucky enough, if you put it all together to win at the Indianapolis 500, that means a lot. That sets you apart globally from anyone else. I like the fact today that IndyCar series has promoters that are willing to promote events multiply for multiple years. And post-COVID, we'll get back to that. We'll get back to a situation where the promoters can fully take advantage of the fact that they're all in. That's what IndyCar racing is really about.
Yeah, the fans make the show. And strangely enough, though, Major League Baseball viewership, not very good. NBA playing in the Dome or wherever it is they're playing down in Florida is not drawing much. But IndyCar seems to be drawing good viewers on television. They can't get to the race, but they're still watching. And it seems that their ratings are fairly good.
Yeah, they seem to be. In fact, I think they're a bit better than expected. There's two things that are equally important for us here on our race team as well as the others. And one is fans. And with that said, part B of that would be new fans. And the other is the application of the enhancement for our commercial partners. And they go hand in hand, let's face it. If we can service both of those needs, even in times of crisis like we have right now, when we can come out the other side, we should be much better.
You know, it's interesting, the drivers that you have, two drivers that are formerly with Formula One are here and seem to really be enjoying. I've talked to both of them, and they really enjoy IndyCar because of everything that's involved. The fans, for one, they can get to see, which in Formula One was nigh and impossible. And the diversity of what they have to race on: ovals, short ovals, large ovals, street courses, permanent road courses. They really enjoy it. And you've got a lineup that's probably second to none of superb drivers. Now you're adding a NASCAR driver. 7-time champion is coming to drive. He's got a 2-year deal, I guess, with Chip for 21 and 22. That should add a lot of ruckus in your shop, and a lot of fans will be hanging around because his name will draw.
Yeah, I think that what I enjoy about him And I knew of him, I didn't know him. Certainly have a lot of admiration for Jimmy Johnson in terms of what he's accomplished in his life on the racetrack, as well as how he's represented himself with the integrity of representation away from the racetrack. But what I've come to understand about him is that he's a teammate. Not only does he have enormous ability, and I think if he would have started his career in INDYCAR racing versus NASCAR racing, he would be a champion in INDYCAR racing also, because of how he conducts himself and how he wants to make himself better and how he wants to use the process internally. No matter, he chose Chip Ganassi Racing, but he could have chosen any INDYCAR team. And on any INDYCAR team, he will be a success because of the way he conducts himself. And that demeanor will take him a long way with his life, whatever he chooses to do after racing.
Yeah, well, I wonder if he'll be able to talk his wife into letting him run the 500 in the ovals that they run. He said that she's the one that's not so happy about the idea, but I think when they look at the cars they have today, I think what Jay and his people have done to make the car safer speaks volumes. And I just bet that at some point he'll be in ovals, or at least Indianapolis for sure.
Well, I would hope so. You know, it certainly brings a new dimension to a marriage counselor. That's not a common topic when you and your wife and your marriage counselor are trying to keep things straight. Yeah, I can't speak to that. I'm just happy that we're able to provide him an avenue for something he's always wanted to do, and we'll work to be successful with it.
Well, I have no doubt that you will. That between his talent and the Ganassi Racing team and your people, they'll give him the car he needs. I've always heard he's very good with his team and listens and works well with the team, so that works in your favor, obviously, the way you operate anyway. So it should be a good thing, and I think it will draw a lot of new fans come in to follow him, because I know when we go down to Richmond, one of the things I did is run around and talk to the fans in the grandstands and back. What do you think? Boy, these cars are fast. Yeah, they are. They really race fast. Yeah, they do. And the place was starting to fill up when it stopped. Hopefully it'll continue that once we go back again. But I think it's going to be an interesting year next year. They've got a nice new race in this town that I enjoyed going to. So hopefully it will work out. And I wish you guys, all three of your cars, nothing but the best. And of course, it'd be nice to see Mr. Dixon get his next victory, his next championship, which a couple of good races this coming weekend at the Harvest GP could button it up for him.
Well, I sure hope so. It's so hard to, well, maybe it isn't. If you define process and you read about it, you know, in different sports, you see it. Belichick is a big process person. And I think that's the reason he's been as successful as he has. He's had to make hard decisions that have defined the future of his team, while at the same time keeping everybody in today's process. And I think that's what successful race teams also do. They have to make hard and difficult decisions while at the same time keeping the people that work within the system focused on today's process. And that's what we're going to need to do when we race the Harvest race coming up. We have to make tough decisions in order to be in the right spot to not gain points, to win the race. We haven't forgotten about the fact that winning, as you mentioned at the beginning of this interview, is primary in Chip's mind. And let's not forget that Felix Rosenqvist and his teammate Marcus Ericsson can win races.
Oh yeah.
So any one of the three for us would be fine. it wouldn't hurt our feelings at all if Felix, who's already won one race this year, Road America, could win another one. And the same with Marcus. Marcus is on the edge right now, doing something that he wants to do, which is win an IndyCar race. So all three of the teams that we have are working hard to do that without beating each other up too much. So we'll work in that direction.
Do you have team orders?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, when?
Don't run into each other.
Yeah, okay.
And if you do, the rule is it better be large enough to where they helicopter you out of the place, because you don't want to deal with the owner. If you do that's the only team order that we have.
Well, I got to say, I appreciate you taking the time, and I think that what you've added to Ganassi Racing can't even be explained. I appreciate you taking the time to chat, which you always do. When I've invited you when we were still alive at McGilvery's, when you had the time, you always showed.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And I wish you nothing but the best, and look forward to seeing that Scott gets his next championship, number 6.
Well, let's hope so, Don. We're trying to get there one step at a time.
Yeah, well, that's what it takes.
We'll just keep working on those steps.
All right. Well, thanks for your time. Good luck to you.
Okay, Don.
Coming Harvest Grand Prix in the end of the season. Hopefully, we'll see you standing up.
Well, we're happy to see that they're going to allow 10,000 fans at Indianapolis.
You probably won't see
and
most
that's
of them.
And that's a step moving forward. Let's face it, that's a good step.
Oh, no question. Hopefully, they'll allow some at St. Petersburg too.
Well, I sure hope so, because that's a terrific. That's turned itself into a terrific event.
Right.
It's a race, and now an event has broken out.
Right.
And so and that's what urban racing is really all about. Is turning races into an event as part of the entire process for a race weekend. Hopefully Nashville and other places like that will become more and more like that for us.
Well, I think they will. And thanks for your time. Look forward to talking to you again sometime, who knows when.
Okay.
Well, then good luck to you this
All right.
season.
You. Thank you very much.
My guest has been Mike Hull, the general managing partner, I think is the title, with Ganassi Racing, and they've done phenomenal. We will be back again. We have some more guests upcoming, so stick with us. Just have to go to the website, autosportradio.com, and you'll see the videos as they're available. And underneath it says, click here to go to YouTube, because we have our own YouTube channel. You can see any of the interviews we've done. Till next time, this is Don Kay saying thanks for being with us and watching. Until next time, goodbye.